She came back that morning with croissants. I was watching from the corner of the block, leaned against the car. I hadn't moved since last night. She had this fake rhythm to her walk, like she was acting out the role of devoted wife who ran out for breakfast. Croissants. On a Thursday morning. We don't even eat breakfast together during the week. I waited until she got to the door and struggled with the keys, shifting the paper bag between her arm and her hip. Her hair was still in waves, those overnight waves she never had when she slept at home. Same clothes as yesterday. And just like that, the story fell apart before she even turned the knob. When she finally saw me standing there, her hand froze. She blinked once, twice, and then came the mask. "Oh, babe? You're here." I didn't answer. Not with words. I just opened the car door, pulled out the small overnight bag I had packed 12 hours ago and dropped it at her feet. She stared at it like it was a foreign object, some artifact from a life she didn't remember choosing. "What is this?" I tilted my head. "That's a great question. Let me know when you figure it out." I walked inside. The apartment smelled like cheap perfume that didn't belong to her. Her perfume was vanilla and cinnamon, subtle, warm. This one? Something louder. Floral. Smug. Like the kind of scent someone sprays too much of when they're trying to wash off guilt and another man's cologne. I heard her follow me in. Her voice was already getting sharp around the edges. "Okay, what's this about? Why are you being weird?" I turned slow. Looked her right in the eye. "Where were you last night, Rachel?" Her lips parted. Then closed. Then parted again. She looked down at the bag of croissants like they might save her. "I told you. At work." The pitch ran long and You weren't at work." Silence. I pulled out my phone and tapped open the app. The one I had quietly installed 3 weeks ago when the weirdness started turning into full-blown lies. The location history didn't lie. Neither did the receipts. Neither did the photos I hadn't even wanted to take. Steakhouse on Franklin. Table for 2. Red wine. "You wore that same jacket." Her face hardened like someone flipped a switch. "You were spying on me?" That's when I laughed. Out loud. One sharp breath that cut right through the air. "You're kidding, right? That's the part you're upset about." She dropped the bag. Croissants tumbled out and hit the tile floor like small, flaky corpses. And there it was, the real her. The one I hadn't seen in years, maybe never at all. She folded her arms and gave me that look, the one she used when she wanted to shut a conversation down without actually having to be honest. "You're overreacting. You're always so dramatic. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have needed." "Needed what?" I snapped. "A steak and a side of validation? On our anniversary?" She scoffed. That little smug twist of her lips like I was the one making this difficult. "God, you're so insecure." And that's when I felt it, not anger, not heartbreak. Something else. Clarity. Like I just stepped out of a fog so thick I didn't even know I was choking. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't panicked. She was cornered. And when Rachel got cornered, she didn't come clean, she dug deeper. But she didn't realize the game had changed. I wasn't asking anymore. I wasn't pleading. I wasn't playing her little dance of explain this and how could you. I already knew the truth. And I was done. She called me pathetic. Not quietly. Not under her breath. She actually stood there with her arms crossed, croissants scattered across the floor like broken pieces of the illusion we used to call marriage, and said, "You're really pathetic, you know that?" Snooping around like some rejected teenager. "Grow up." It didn't even sting. That was the strangest part. Somewhere between her lie and the way she weaponized her guilt into an insult, my heart stopped taking damage. It was just documenting. Recording. Filing it all away for the inevitable conversation with the divorce lawyer. I picked up my keys from the counter, the same counter where she used to leave sticky notes like, "Don't forget your coffee," and "Love you, nerd," yellow heart dot. Now the only thing left on it was a wine glass with a lipstick shade she didn't own and a folded napkin from Franklin's, which I knew she had brought home by accident. That little memento of her night. "You're not even going to deny it?" I asked. "No more performance? No tears? No fake confusion?" She actually rolled her eyes. Rachel walked over to the couch, sat down like she owned the room, and started untying her shoes, slowly, deliberately, like we were having a boring argument about groceries. "Look, if you're going to act like a child, I'm not entertaining this crap. Yes, I had dinner. Yes, I was with someone. We talked. That's it. That's it? Yes." She looked up, deadpan. "It was just talking. You're blowing it out of proportion." There it was. Just talking. The classic line. Like I hadn't seen the way she touched his hand in the photos. Like I hadn't watched the little video clip from the private investigator I hired, the one where she leaned across the table, tilted her head, and whispered something that made that guy smirk and nod before sliding his hand under the table. "His name's Marcus, right?" I said. Her expression finally cracked. A flicker. Barely noticeable, but there. That's none of your business, she snapped. Oh, but my marriage is your business? That's when she stood up. Fast. Like she couldn't take not being in control of the conversation anymore. You think you're so perfect, she hissed. You work all the time. You're boring. You don't listen to me. You act like I'm supposed to be grateful just because you pay bills on time and take out the trash. I got tired, okay? I needed someone who made me feel wanted again. There it was. The full admission. Like a shot fired right between the ribs. She stood there, breathing heavily, chest rising and falling like she'd just run a mile uphill, expecting me to snap. To scream. To cry. Something. I nodded. I believe you. She blinked. What? I believe you got tired. I believe you needed something else. I just wish you'd had the guts to say that before sleeping with someone else behind my back. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. But nothing came. For once, Rachel had no script. I walked toward the door and as my hand touched the handle, she said, "Where are you going?" I turned back, 1 foot already in the hallway. My voice didn't shake. Out. To start choosing peace. And then I left her there, standing in the middle of the wreckage she created, pretending she didn't know how the fire started. But she knew. She was the one holding the match. I stayed at my brother's that weekend. Nate lives about 20 minutes away, long enough to not feel like I'm breathing the same air as her, close enough that I could drive past the apartment just once, just to remind myself that I left. Nate didn't ask too many questions, which I appreciated. He just handed me a beer, threw on the game, and let me sit in silence for a while before he finally said, "She always had that fake smile, man. You know what I mean? Like the kind that's too wide, like she's already trying to sell you something before she says a word." It hit me harder than I expected. Not because he was wrong, but because I knew that smile. I used to think I was special for seeing the version of her that smiled after the sale. The one that laughed when her feet were cold in bed and she tucked them under my legs. I thought I had access to the real version. Turns out she just did better rehearsals for me. The next day, I got the first real taste of what this was turning into. She sent a single message at 9:42 a.m. "Can we talk?" Just that. No apology. No explanation. No remorse. Like she was casually inviting me to go over weekend plans, not the demolition site of our marriage. I didn't answer. She sent another at noon. "I don't like that you're ignoring me. This isn't fair." Fair. The word nearly made me laugh. Fair was her spending our anniversary with someone else while texting me from the bathroom with a lie. Fair was me sitting alone in a motel room while she was draped in candlelight and red wine. Fair was that photo of her and Marcus holding hands under the table like high schoolers in heat while I was planning to surprise her with concert tickets to her favorite band. I gave it another day. And then I broke. I called her. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted closure. But because I needed to hear it from her lips, the kind of admission that leaves no room for hope. She answered on the second ring. "Hey," she said, like nothing had happened. I didn't say anything. She waited. Then tried to soften her tone. "I'm glad you called. I've been thinking about everything." "Tell me the truth," I said. No rehearsed line. No gaslighting. Just the truth. "One time. Did you sleep with him?" Silence. 1 beat. 2. And then, "No." She said it too fast. Too smooth. And then followed it up with, "But if I had, would that really change anything at this point?" That right there was the death rattle of our marriage. She couldn't admit it. Couldn't own it. But she wanted to say it without saying it, to dangle it just close enough that it hurt, but not so close that she could be blamed. "Wow," I said quietly. "Don't act like I'm the only one who's ever made mistakes," she shot back, already slipping into victim mode. "You've been distant for months." Because I felt something was off, I snapped. Because I was trying to figure out if it was me or if you were pulling away. "I didn't pull away," she said. "I just leaned towards someone else." There it was. The truth cloaked in metaphor, but still bleeding at the edges. I hung up. She didn't call back. Not once. The next day, I contacted a lawyer. Her name was Jenna Hartwell. Sharp, no nonsense, the kind of person who says things like, "Let's get this over with clean," before she even hears the details. I told her everything, not dramatically, just facts. The anniversary lie. The steakhouse. Marcus. Rachel's casual cruelty. The way she delivered betrayal like it was a grocery list. Jenna nodded through most of it, only pausing when I said, "She still hasn't admitted it." "She won't," she said flatly. "People like her never do. They'd rather rewrite the story than take the hit." I sat back, exhaled. It felt good, not empowering, not yet, but at least stable. Like finally gripping something solid after treading water for days. That evening, Rachel let herself into Nate's place. "Yeah. You read that right?" I don't know how she found out I was there, maybe saw my car, maybe guessed. But she walked in like she still had the right. Nate was out, thank God, or the door wouldn't have survived the first minute. I was on the couch. She stood in the doorway like a villain entering the third act, messy bun, sunglasses pushed up on her head, too much perfume and that same smug aura like she owned the moment just for being in it. Seriously, she said. Lawyers? Already? I didn't get up. Just looked at her. She walked in like she'd paid rent there. You're seriously going to end a 5-year marriage over one mistake? One. I said, staring at her. We both know it wasn't one. Oh my God, she snapped, dropping her bag on the floor. Nothing even happened, but you're acting like I murdered someone. You're punishing me because I needed something and you weren't there. You made the space between us. You filled that space with another man. She folded her arms. Yeah? And you filled it with suspicion and tracking apps. So what? We both screwed up. That was her move. Equivalence. Twisting everything until it was a draw, like lying, sneaking around, and hooking up with someone on our anniversary somehow balanced with me finding out and daring to react. I'm not playing this game anymore, I said. We're done. Don't be stupid, Aaron, she snapped. You think you're going to find someone better than me? You think some boring divorcee is gonna fall over herself to date a guy who can't even hold his marriage together? It took everything in me not to laugh. Not because it was funny. Because that was it. That was her. Right there. Not regret. Not remorse. Not even sadness. Just ego, bruised and cornered, lashing out. I stood up. She stepped back instinctively like she knew the final hit was coming. I already have someone better than you, I said. It's me. The version of me that doesn't have to keep forgiving someone who can't stop lying. And I walked past her, leaving her standing in the middle of a house she didn't belong to, looking like someone who just realized the world wasn't going to wait for her to change. Not anymore. She didn't leave quietly. The next day, I woke up to 100 unread messages, voicemails, texts, even emails with subject lines like, please read, and you're making a mistake. One of them was just a blank email with a gif of a sad puppy. A puppy, man. Like this was some rom-com miscommunication and not a full-blown emotional demolition. Like I was supposed to melt because she found a Google image that vaguely matched the emotion she never actually showed in real life. And then came the turning point, the one message that shifted everything. You think Marcus cares about me? He won't even answer now that you've made a scene. Hope you're happy. That was it. That was her version of a confession. Not I'm sorry. Not I messed up. Just blame, redirected like she slipped on a banana peel and I had put it there. She admitted it without admitting it again. Wrapped in bitterness, spiked with deflection. He was gone. And just like that now she wanted to work on us. Not when I brought up distance months ago. Not when I booked therapy sessions she skipped. Not when I sat next to her in bed night after night pretending not to hear her texting at 1 a.m. Now. Because Marcus had vanished. Because reality had consequences. I ignored her. For 3 days. Jenna was already drawing up the preliminary papers. We discussed assets which were mercifully simple, no kids, a lease in both our names, one joint account I'd already moved half out of. Clean break. That was the plan. Until Rachel showed up at my office. No warning. No appointment. Just strolled in, past reception like she still had that privilege. My assistant gave me the what the hell eyes through the glass. Rachel barged in, shut the door, and leaned against it like she was posing for a tragic romance scene. We can fix this. I didn't speak. I didn't even motion for her to sit. She took it as permission anyway. Look, I screwed up, she started. But you did too. You shut down emotionally, Aaron. You acted like everything was fine when it wasn't. You're not really going to try to make this 50-50, I said. She shrugged, smiling like we were flirting. I'm saying it doesn't have to end like this. You and me? We've got history. You really want to throw all that away for, what? Being right? I walked to the door. Opened it. Rachel, I said calmly, this isn't about being right. It's about being done. She didn't move. Just stood there, blinking fast, nostrils flaring like she might throw a tantrum. You're going to regret this, she said. You think you're strong enough to start over, but you're not. No, I said. I just finally realized I'm strong enough to stop letting you hurt me. She left. Furious. Silent. No more words. And for the first time in a long time, I breathed like someone who wasn't drowning in someone else's poison. The next few days were unsettling in the way calm after a storm always is. I kept waiting for something, another ambush visit, another barrage of guilt-laced messages, some dramatic public post meant to shame me into crawling back. But Rachel went quiet. Not peaceful quiet. Strategic quiet. I knew her. That silence wasn't surrender, it was recalibration. And sure enough, on Thursday night, it happened. My phone buzzed. It was my cousin Laura, frantic. Hey! I just saw Rachel's post. Are you okay? Do you want me to say something? I'm so sorry, Aaron. I blinked. What post? She sent me a screenshot. There it was, clear as day, on Facebook. Rachel had changed her profile picture to one from our wedding. And her post, written like she was grieving me at a funeral, read, 5 years of love, memories, and growing together, gone in an instant. I'm devastated that Aaron decided to walk away from our marriage instead of fighting for it. I'm not perfect, but I always loved him. Some people just give up too easily. Hundreds of likes. Comments from people who didn't know the truth. Stay strong, Rach. He'll realize what he lost. Men don't know how to handle real women anymore. I stared at it, jaw clenched so tight it hurt. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She was curating the narrative, painting herself as the wronged, abandoned wife. No mention of Marcus. No mention of our anniversary dinner she spent playing footsie with another man. Just a carefully crafted victim role she slipped into like a designer dress. And it worked, at least, for the people who didn't know better. My finger hovered over the comment button. I could have said everything. I could have blown it wide open, dropped screenshots, receipts, maybe even that one damning clip of her at the bar leaning into Marcus like she forgot she had a ring on her finger. But I didn't. I closed the app. Not because I was protecting her, I wasn't. She'd already burned that bridge down and danced on the ashes. But because I didn't owe her a stage. I didn't need to convince strangers who only knew our filtered photos and anniversary posts. I didn't need applause. What I needed was silence, my silence. Chosen, not forced. And that was the first time in a while I felt a little bit free. Later that night, she texted. I saw you didn't comment. That says a lot. I guess you really don't care. I didn't reply. Not to that. I was done trying to explain reality to someone who kept rewriting the script to cast herself as the lead. Let her have the audience. I was busy rebuilding the part of me she never even tried to know. A week passed. No more messages. No more surprise visits. No more baited texts or emotional grenades lobbed into my quiet. It was eerie, like she'd finally accepted it. Or maybe, more likely, she'd found a new audience to perform for. Either way, the silence held. I moved back into the apartment. Not because I wanted to stay in that space, God, no, but because my name was still on the lease and I needed to sort my half before the paperwork finalized. Jenna had already warned me, get in, get what's yours, and don't let her bait you into a conversation. If she shows up, you leave. But she didn't show up. She left the place in the exact kind of condition you'd expect from someone trying to prove a point, half the dishes still dirty, my favorite hoodie missing, and a handwritten note on the fridge. Hope it was worth it. That line, 5 little words that said everything about her mindset. No regret, no self-awareness, just one last passive-aggressive punch meant to frame me as the villain in a movie she directed. I didn't even touch the note. Just left it there like a sad little artifact of her final act. As I boxed my things, old photos, my vinyl collection, that one framed ticket stub from our first concert, I found something I didn't expect, a red notebook tucked deep in the bottom drawer of her nightstand. I should have left it. I really should have. But curiosity, or maybe closure, had other plans. Inside were pages of letters, not to me, to him, to Marcus. Some dated months back. Others recent. None sent as far as I could tell. All of them filled with fantasies, plans, dreams. The way she described him, it was like I didn't even exist. Like she'd already been living in a parallel life while I was still here thinking we were trying. The last page was what hit the hardest. I can't wait for the day I don't have to pretend with Aaron anymore. Marcus sees the real me. I'm alive with him. Not stuck. Stuck. That word sat in my chest like a stone. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. What I felt now. Standing in the middle of our shattered home, holding a letter that never should have existed, was this strange kind of grief. Not for her. For me. For the version of me that built a life with someone who never wanted to stay in it. For the man who kept showing up every day, believing he was building something real, while she was counting down the days until she could disappear. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it, closed the drawer, sealed the last box, and I left. Not just the apartment, not just the marriage. I left the version of myself that kept begging for proof I was enough. I didn't need it anymore. She was right about one thing, though. I was stuck, but not anymore. 3 weeks later, the divorce papers were officially served. Rachel signed them. No fight. No dramatic courthouse scene. No sudden plea for reconciliation or teary confession outside my door in the rain. Just a quiet signature sent back through her lawyer with a short note attached. Let me know when you're ready to be adults about this. Even in ending things, she had to throw in one last dig. Like I'd been the irrational one all along. Like her lies, her betrayal, the manipulation, the whole affair. All of it were just unfortunate side effects of my supposed immaturity. It would have hurt me once. But now it read like someone clinging to a version of events she had to believe in, because the truth would wreck her ego beyond repair. Jenna called to confirm everything was moving forward. She's not contesting anything, she said, which probably means she wants this behind her just as fast as you do. I didn't reply right away. I was staring at the final document, the formal end of 5 years condensed into black ink and legal phrasing. It's not behind her, I finally said. It'll follow her, because that's what people like Rachel never understand. They think if they avoid the consequences long enough, rewrite the story fast enough, find a new partner quick enough, the guilt won't catch up. But it does. Quietly, relentlessly. It creeps in through the smallest cracks. An inside joke that doesn't land with the new guy. A song that reminds her of a night she pretends meant nothing. The way someone else won't laugh at her little lies because they don't find them charming. Catches up. Always. Meanwhile, I started rebuilding. I got my own place. Nothing special. Just a small one-bedroom that smelled like fresh paint and empty shelves. But it was mine. Every inch of it. No ghosts. No landmines under the floorboards. Just peace and the quiet hum of a man learning how to exist again. I started running in the mornings. Not because I was chasing some post-divorce glow-up, but because I needed to move, to sweat out the poison, to feel the ground under my feet. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. Turns out, I had let a lot of people drift because I was too busy covering for Rachel's mood swings and explaining away her cold shoulders at dinners and birthdays. They never said it outright, but the relief on their faces was obvious. "You look lighter," one of them said. "Like you finally dropped something heavy." Yeah, her. I didn't date. Not yet. Not even close. But I started writing again. Music, mostly. Songs that had been buried for years under the noise of trying to hold my marriage together. And I slept. Deep, dreamless sleep. The kind that only comes when you know no one's lying next to you. It was a Tuesday when she reached out again. Nearly 2 months after she signed the papers. I was eating leftover Thai, halfway through a playlist I made called Forgetting Her in Stereo, when her name lit up my screen. "Rachel, don't answer." Yeah, I renamed her. The message was short. "Can we talk?" I didn't reply. 20 minutes later, another ping. "I miss you. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I do." Then came the voice message, not a voicemail, a full 1-minute audio. I let it play through Bluetooth, sitting alone on my floor, surrounded by the silence she once made unbearable. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Tired. Almost rehearsed. "I know I wasn't fair to you. I know I didn't treat you the way you deserved. And I don't expect you to forgive me, I think about how we used to laugh at the dumbest stuff. How you always rubbed my back when I couldn't sleep, even if you were exhausted. I guess I thought that would never go away. That you'd always be there." I paused it there. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. She missed the man who tolerated her. The man who stayed silent while she disrespected him. The man who tried to love her back into being someone decent. That man was gone. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me who let her keep her halo. I thought that would be the end of it. But then, like clockwork, she dropped the final card. I made a mistake. Marcus wasn't who I thought he was. He used me. Ah, there it was. The unraveling. Not regret for what she did to me, but devastation because it didn't work out with him. The safety net broke, and now she was scrambling for the last familiar ledge, even if it was one she lit on fire herself. I didn't respond. Not that day. Not the next. Not at all. Instead, I blocked her number. Blocked her on socials. Told Jenna to finish the filing and make it airtight. No loose ends. No room for talks or emotional scavenger hunts. And for the first time since everything shattered, I looked in the mirror and didn't see a man trying to survive someone else's damage. I saw someone rebuilding slowly, imperfectly, but without shame. Without fear. Without her. I was finally writing the story that didn't include her lies, her drama, or her noise. And damn, it was starting to sound good. A few weeks ago, I stood in line at the grocery store, just grabbing toothpaste and coffee when I saw her again. Rachel. She was 3 aisles over. Alone. Hair tied back in a lazy bun, no makeup, scrolling her phone like the world owed her something. I froze for half a second, not from fear, not even pain. Just that split-second muscle memory of what used to be mine, what I used to protect. She didn't see me. And I didn't let her. I turned, walked out, left my basket right there. Not because I couldn't face her, but because I didn't need to. What do you say to someone who taught you how deeply a person can fake love? You say nothing. You let silence be the echo they can't escape from. It's funny. When people talk about betrayal, they picture yelling matches, slammed doors, dramatic exits. But the real wound comes later, in the quiet, in the questions that never get answered. The slow replay of every moment that didn't feel wrong back then but feels like a lie now. She taught me that love with the wrong person doesn't just break you, it starves you. It turns you into someone who questions their own instincts, who apologizes for bleeding after being stabbed. But I learned. God, did I learn? I learned that love isn't supposed to feel like waiting for a grenade to go off. I learned that loyalty means nothing to someone who sees your forgiveness as permission. I learned that walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. The kind that builds quietly and then, one day, wakes you up with a clear mind and a steady heart. The papers are finalized now. Legally. Emotionally. Spiritually. Every part of it over. The apartment I'm in now has windows that catch the sun in the morning and floors that don't creak with memory. No ghosts. No second guesses. Just my books, my guitar, and a chair by the window where I drink coffee without wondering where she was last night. Some mornings I still wake up reaching for the side of the bed she used to occupy. It's not because I miss her. It's because routine takes time to die. But I don't feel pain anymore when I remember, just distance. Like a life I watched in a film I no longer relate to. To anyone reading this who feels the shift, who hears the lies before they're spoken, who wonders if they're crazy for sensing something wrong. You're not crazy. You're awake. Trust it. Leave when you have to. Even if your hands shake. Even if your heart screams. Even if they say you'll regret it. Because one day, I promise it, you'll wake up in a quiet room, sunlight on your face, and feel peace where their chaos used to live. And it will feel like freedom.